Hello, church. It's Pastor Steve back with you this week for the Monday Minute for March the 22nd of 2021. Want to encourage you to check out our website and social media, particularly on our current events page, for all of the things that are going to be happening here at Newburg in these next couple of weeks. For now, I simply want to remind you of Holy Week and the things that are going to be coming up there, which starts actually this coming Sunday on Palm Sunday. We have Holy Week devotional booklets that Allie has talked about. Those will be available for you to pick up later this week, in addition to a palm that you can have at home with you as we celebrate Palm Sunday together next week. Also, we are looking forward to our Maundy Thursday service, which is going to be on April the 1st. That will be in our memorial garden, and that will be a service of communion at 7 p.m. You do need to RSVP for that, and we are capped at a limit of 50 people inside the memorial garden. So please do get that RSVP into the church either through our website or by calling as soon as you can. The same is true for our Easter sunrise service, which we're looking forward to bringing to you. That is going to be outside in the back parking lot at 8:30 a.m. on Easter Sunday morning. And we again look forward to seeing you there as we celebrate the resurrection and Holy Communion together. We also have a cap on that of 100 people for right now. If things change, we'll let you know. But again, please do get those RSVPs in as soon as you can. This week, as we approach the end of the season of Lent, I was struck by the psalm reading, which is Psalm 51, verses 1 through 12 specifically. If you're not familiar with this psalm, it starts out as a confession. It's a confession of sin and transgression, and then it moves after a couple of verses into a plea for God's grace to be with the writer, read also the people of Israel, and to forgive and to cancel out those sins and iniquities that they had committed that had brought them to the place that they are right now. The last three verses, verses 10 through 12 of this reading, are ones that are very familiar to me. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Now, these last couple of verses of this portion of the psalm, like a few other psalms as well, was made into a church campfire song that I had sung in my youth. It brought back a lot of memories for me, and as I recall those memories, I'm grateful for them as it's quite nostalgic. But too often, these words, these last three verses, I should say, can be taken out of context. And without the others together, they can miss the point, especially from the previous verses. Sure, we ask God for a clean heart because we acknowledge that based on our past experiences, we cannot do it on our own. All that is true. But as I said earlier, this psalm is not just about some individual coming to personally know the Lord. Yet too often, that's what we make of it. And it's what we make of faith in general. Personal salvation continues to be all too pervasive when it comes to defining our faith. Now, yes, personal salvation is a big part of that. But yet, in a deeper sense, this idea of salvation that's being conveyed here in the psalm, and I think should be conveyed for all of us, is on a much larger scale. Verse 8 says this, "Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones that you have crushed rejoice." This is a reminder that Israel, not just an individual, is the one that is calling back to God after generations of unfaithfulness. It's a call for a promise that God will make all things new and God will cleanse and make a new beginning for the people of Israel, God's chosen people, both individually and corporately. This past week, a new awareness was raised in this country as we reeled again as a nation with another incident of gun violence. It was clear that this time Asian Americans were the target, which has spurned the social media calls for Stop Asian Hate. Now, All of this is true, and we must raise awareness of that, and it should be brought to the forefront. But whether we are talking about stopping Asian hate, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, there is a bigger issue that especially white persons of privilege like myself need to address. Because I saw another meme in response to this that said simply this: stop teaching bigotry. It reminded me that all of these things are learned behaviors. Hate is learned. Hate and discrimination is taught. And we need to move forward with an understanding that focusing from one crisis to the next truly won't deal with the situation. We, both individually and as a people, need clean hearts and a new and right spirit, yes. But like the beginning of Psalm 51 suggests, we must also own our transgressions, individually and corporately, in order to be transformed. The season of Lent in the earliest days of the church was a time where new converts were prepared for baptism. And they worked during those 40 days to be cleansed of their past transgressions. And new life then would emerge with Jesus, who rose up from the tomb on that Easter Sunday morning as they rise out of the waters of baptism. And as the Gospel of John says, where Jesus is quoted saying, "And I am lifted up from the earth, and I will draw all people to myself." When we ask for clean hearts and a new and right spirit, let's ask it for the right reasons, so that we can confront head-on the issues that have brought about these incidents of hate in the first place. We can address them, and we can confront them so that those who hate can be transformed, and our awareness transformed along with it, that will help others within their own transformation. Doing our part will not only create clean hearts, and it will give us individual joy, but it can also restore the joy of the salvation that we can all live in through Jesus. So let's make that commitment, that as we go into these last 2 weeks of Lent, our hearts will be renewed and we can rejoice. But the hearts of many, through what we say and do, can be transformed. And as we own the sins of our past, we can make right for a new and better future in God's kingdom. Have a great and a safe week this coming week, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here next week for our Holy Week edition of the Monday Minute.